Hey guys, welcome back. I just wanted to talk today about sensitivity because as a very sensitive individual myself, and I was reading through the comments yesterday, some of you are also experiencing a lot of sensitivity in the video that I made about power couples. So I just thought I'd hop on and kind of share what sensitivity is really all about and the different types of sensitivity that you might be experiencing. These are all major ascension symptoms, and there is a way to make it a little bit easier for yourself. And if you understand what you're sensitive to, why you're sensitive to it, then it's so much easier to navigate your entire ascension journey, right? Because as a really highly sensitive individual myself, I have to constantly, and there's so many mosquitoes, oh my God, I have to constantly, do certain things to keep myself level, to keep myself from kind of not flying off into space, right? Both mentally, emotionally, physically, because it just really, you can really go off in the deep end. And if you don't know how to like anchor yourself, then you will struggle with your ascension, and it doesn't have to be a struggle. So the types of sensitivities that exist are, we're going to talk about sound first, just because somebody mentioned that in the comments yesterday about how they're sensitive to, certain people that they like want to watch. They want to, get the information that they're, putting out there, but their voice or perhaps like the way that they're speaking is really making it difficult for them. So it's like they just can't force themselves to listen. And I totally hear you. I'm totally with you on that. There are certain people, for me as well, certain women that are, it's just the way they talk, or it's the way that they pronounce certain letters, certain words that can be really almost triggering for me. And I just find it's like so irritating. Like I can't watch it. I can't listen, even though I want the information. So I'm totally with you on that. And I totally get you. So, and that's okay. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with that person. It just means that the frequency or the vibration that that person is talking at, or the imbalances actually that that person has within them is what you're picking up on, is what you're sensitive to. So some women that talk really sort of have a really high frequency voice, or the way they pronounce, like I said, certain words will be triggering because it's like overly feminine, right? So there's just like a lot of feminine energy within them, and the masculine isn't quite balanced out. And that's really just what it is, right? And I mentioned in yesterday's video about how the whole process of the power couples coming together, like the both divine masculine and divine feminine had to move through this process of integrating the divine masculine and feminine within the self, right? So that, what does that mean? That means you got to balance both of those energies out within yourself. So it's like you're soft and you're able to be soft, but you're not overly soft, right? Or you're hard, you're able to be hard, you're able to be tough when you need to be and strong when you need to be, but you're not overly tough, right? Especially as a woman, right? So it's just about learning. God, it's like so many mosquitoes. So it's just about learning that balance, and integrating that balance within the self, so that you are both, masculine and feminine in a very harmonious way within yourself. And it's going to show up in how you speak. It shows up in how you act, how you move, how you do everything and anything, how you respond to situations. So, that balancing out matters. That's why, again, I said, like, for me, because I'm such a like spiritual warrior, and because I've had to be very tough. So I was in my masculine energy actually for a really, really long time. And I had to bring it back because I was overly in my masculine. And that's why, like, now I try to dress more feminine. I really try to, I grew my hair out super long. Like, I'm really embracing and bringing back into harmony and into balance the feminine within me as well. Because I know for me, like, I was in my masculine overly because of like survival mode, right? And because you got to be tough, right? When you're surviving in life and when you're just trying to get through your day to day, it really shoves you into that overly masculine energy. And as a woman, of course, that's not good for us, especially as a mother, right? It's something that I had to learn. And because I have a daughter, I had to, um, show her what balance looks like. And so it's having this ability to be soft and nurturing and compassionate and kind and feminine, while simultaneously also being able to be strong and having that strength to get through and to do what you got to do and to power through certain things, right? So it's all about balance, guys, all about balance. But let's get into it. So sound sensitivity specifically, you may be experiencing like sensitivity to like loud noises. Motorcycles, for example, actually really trigger me and set me off. I love Harleys. I love the way they look and stuff, but I hate the way they sound. Just really, really loud, overly loud motorcycles are a huge trigger. Also, like noises, actually, just in general, you might find are more irritating to you than usual or than they were before. Or you may have had noise sensitivity your entire life if you have been a sensitive person. Buzzing sounds, actually, and buzzing sounds increasingly this year, I noticed, have become really, really annoying for me. So anything that's buzzing, like my fridge buzzing, it's like it's amplified. Like I hear it so much louder, and I find it to be very annoying. I'm always like, God, I wish I could just unplug it, but I can't. Obviously, stores, actually, when I go into stores and like the neon lighting in the stores, it's like I can literally hear like the vibration of it, and it's that too. And I actually have one neon light in my kitchen that I'm going to have to switch out for sure, because it drives me absolutely nuts just to have it on. I can hear it buzzing, and it's a really, really irritating sound. Electrical buzzing too. So any type of electrical buzzing, machines, for example, even like people cutting grass, like it's crazy. Like, people cutting grass, using those, blowers, right? Those like leaf blowers and stuff like that. Like people don't rake anymore, right? Everyone just has those blowers and they just blow shit off the sidewalk, right? Which very efficient, yes, for sure. But also, simultaneously, I just find it really annoying, like the pitch of it and the sound of how loud it is. Or like chainsaw, like the other day they were cutting down a tree at the park here, a dead tree, and they were just at it with the saw for like 3 hours straight. I had to close every window in my house and just put music on and different things just to not be irritated by the sound of that. Any kind of like saw, actually, because I'll hear people, just doing construction, cutting wood, all kinds of different things. All of that stuff I just find highly annoying and irritating. So that's something that you might be noticing as well. And that's just really, and I'll explain why you're experiencing this. Yes, it's an ascension symptom, but it's also because your sensitivity is like showing you that you're becoming way more attuned to your environment, and sensitive people generally are really attuned to their environment. So that's why you're going to pick up, it's like you'll just notice things that the average person maybe doesn't notice. Yeah, high pitch voices, high frequency voices, same thing. I can't do it. I can't watch them. God bless them. They have great content and whatnot, but I can't do it. The other sensitivity, down from sounds, of course, would be light sensitivity. So you may have noticed that you're increasingly sensitive to light, just like the sunlight, or in general types of light. So for me personally, I noticed, like LEDs are like a huge trigger. I can't stand LEDs, and I know that they're moving to like these different types of lighting, and they're saying like, oh, it's more energy efficient and whatever. But to be honest, it's way more harmful for sensitive individuals, for all individuals, but for sensitives, it's even more harmful because the frequency of that light is artificial, and that's why LED lights, because it's so artificial, that's why we can't tolerate it as well. You may notice that. Particularly the color of the light too. Like if you notice, a lot of these LED bulbs have like that really stark white, almost like a bluish white frequency or color to them. And I can't even like look at it. I have Christmas lights like that, and I noticed last year when I put them out, I was like, oh hell no, like we're done with this. Like, so I got to get rid of those Christmas lights because I can't do that overly white. If it's a more yellow tone to it, it's much softer on the eye. The frequency of the light is much softer, so I can handle it better. But like switch out your light bulbs if you're finding yourself to be overly sensitive to light. Make sure that you switch over to incandescent. And there is a reason why they're getting rid of incandescent light bulbs, because they're really trying to push, the LED stuff. And, don't fall for it. I don't believe in that narrative. I know that it's all about frequency. We literally are in a frequency war at this time on planet Earth. So sensitives are picking up on that majorly. I've picked up on it my entire life, but I find incandescent bulbs are really helpful. They're just a lot softer, a lot easier on the eyes. And the frequency that they resonate at works for me way, way better. So I found a store where I was still able to find incandescent bulbs, and I loaded up, man. I'm good for like probably 10 years. Just because that's the only kind of light bulb I can do. So I don't switch out, my lighting in my house. Like I left everything the way it was. It's a 50-year-old house that I live in, but everything is still with incandescent, and that's just what works for me. So give that a try. That might help you if you're really sensitive to light. The other thing is you might also notice that you have a craving for fire or a candlelight. That's something that I'm always, like, I always got candles going in my house. And in addition to that, anytime I can do a fire outside, I will, because I'm able to do it in my backyard. But if you don't have a backyard, then just light candles frequently and like kind of do like a little bit of candle gazing where you're looking into the candlelight, because fire has infrared lighting in it. And so if you notice yourself just really drawn to candles and candlelight, it's because you're craving the infrared lighting that is coming from it. It actually activates the pineal gland within the brain. So fire gazing, candle gazing is very, very beneficial for light sensitive people, and just in general, actually, for sensitives. So try to avoid lighting that is overly bright, and try to avoid, like I said, LEDs and LED bulbs. Also try to create like mood lighting for yourself. I find I just need to, even in the evening, once the sun goes down, I just keep everything super dim and low. Sometimes I barely even turn any lights on. My electricity bill is like super low because I barely put lights on. I'd rather have a few candles going, and that will do it for me. It just creates this really peaceful kind of vibe and energy in my home. So it's really helpful. And color, use different kind of colored lights if you want to, and actually play with that a little bit and see which ones resonate for you, which colors you're particularly drawn to. So if you have anything that changes color bulbs, then see which one really creates a sense of peace and harmony within you, and use that. That's basically like color therapy, right? But we can do that through lighting. Another type of sensitivity that you actually might notice, and this is something that's been off the charts for me lately, is emotional sensitivity. So what I mean by that is that you're just moved really easily by all kinds of things. It's like you may notice yourself feeling really deeply and feeling so much more than you ever felt before emotionally. Like observing nature, for example. Maybe you're just like watching a pigeon or just seeing two birds, kind of cuddle together or whatnot. And that might actually move you emotionally. It might make you tear up a little bit. When good or positive things happen, you might notice yourself getting emotional about it and crying like a hormonal pregnant woman. God, it's been so funny. But it's beautiful. Like that is actually an indication that your heart chakra is really, really coming online, and it's really opening up. It's really expanding, and your capacity to feel is actually increasing, which is huge. It's a beautiful thing. Think about how much we need that in our world, right? For people to feel deeper and more compassionately, and for their hearts to come back online so we can get out of our heads, right? So that's a really beautiful thing. Feeling others' love and compassion moves you. That is something that I also noticed. Even actually reading the comments from yesterday's video literally teared me up. I was just so grateful for all of the beautiful comments that you guys left, and all of the love that I was genuinely feeling from those comments coming through. It genuinely moved me and brought tears to my eyes. It was really, really beautiful. So thank you actually for all of those lovely comments, and thank you for subscribing and the likes and everything that you guys were doing. This is how we grow and expand love in our world, right? And this is how we move ourselves into higher and higher frequencies of compassion and Christ consciousness. So let's keep doing that. It's beautiful. Feeling overly sensitive emotionally is a really, really good thing. Really allow feelings to move through you. Allow yourself to get emotional. Don't hit the brakes on it. Don't hold back. I used to do that. I had a period of time, a really long period of time where I actually was, that time I mentioned before when I was in survival mode and very much in my masculine energy, I didn't allow myself to cry like at all. I wouldn't shed a tear for years and years, no matter how bad things got or no matter what was going on in my life. I just wouldn't cry. And that's really unhealthy. It's really stagnating because it's like you're capping your heart chakra. You're not allowing the energy to move through it because tears are a form of release, right? It's how you display and put into physicality your emotions. It's how people get to see that you feel, right? And it's also an emptying. It's a way to release that emotion and empty it out. It literally comes out through those tears. So it's very, very important to allow yourself to cry, to be sensitive, to be emotional over a silly commercial or a movie or whatever. Like, let it move through you. Don't let it get stuck. Empathy, actually, and I have an example for this. So empathy, feeling other people's emotions, is also something you might notice as you're coming more and more online spiritually and awakening. Really just picking up on other people's emotions and how they're feeling, and you completely like adapting that and feeling it with them actually is pretty normal. So it's definitely a normal part of awakening and of ascension. Um, it's actually emotional attunement, right? That's what's actually happening. And the example I wanted to share was this morning, as I walked my daughter out to catch the bus, our neighbor across the street, their little girl just started school and she just started JK. And so mom and dad were there, we were chatting and we're waiting for the bus. And, all of a sudden I just started to like, the bus was starting to approach for pickup. And it was this little girl's first day of like full day of school. And this was her first day to take the bus, by herself. And mom got emotional, but before she even got emotional, like I'm going to say about a good 30 seconds prior, I started tearing up right away. And I could feel the emotion, for like the mom, for the little girl, for this experience, this brand new experience. And I was also taken back in that moment of like my experience with that when my little girl first took the bus and got on it, and how I bawled my face off, because it's a big deal, right? When you let your little 4-year-olds like get on a bus and go, and you're just so scared for them and you're worrying, and all the motherly instincts kick in, right? And so there I am, free, I'm blubbering and I'm like crying this morning, while my neighbor is having her little girl get on the bus, and she's crying of course too, and I'm like, it's okay, and she's like all embarrassed. I'm like, it's okay, I'm crying with you, like no worries. So that kind of empathy and picking up on somebody's emotions before they're even fully displaying it is also completely normal. It's a huge ascension symptom, and it just again really shows you that your aura, your energy field is actually quite open. And that is why you're picking up all of this sensitivity and all of this information from your external world, and you're actually responding, reacting to that. Now, I want to talk about vibrational sensitivity. So vibrational sensitivity is frequency sensitivity. This is picking up on the vibration of a store, for example, people, places. Notice the shifts in how you feel, when you walk into a store, for example. And I want to actually use a quick example here. I went to Walmart, and I actually don't shop at Walmart in general. I don't vibe with Walmart for some reason at all. I mean, I know the reason, it's just low vibe to me. So I generally never ever shop there. But it was back to school stuff, and I said to my daughter, I said, let's go and let's just check out what they have. So we did. And we were not in there for more than like half an hour. And how awful I felt by the end of that half an hour, I cannot even express to you. My daughter was the same thing because she's also highly sensitive. We both kind of looked at each other when we were done. I'm like, I'm exhausted. We were in there 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, we're not really going to come back here now for any reason, unless I really need to get something there. And in general, stores I walk into, I will notice I'm extremely sensitive. I pick up on the frequency of the entire store. So like the overhead lighting, I find all the neon lighting really messes with me. I actually get headaches from it. The sounds, the PSA or whatever, like the announcements or whatever they say all the time. And the loudness of that really bothers me when I'm at stores shopping, and also the people, actually the frequency of the people and their energy. And it's so condensed, in that store. It's contained, right? The store is like a container, and it's holding that vibration, that frequency of all the people that are in it. And as a highly sensitive person, when you walk into a place like that, it just pummels you because it's so overwhelming, the amount of information and the amount of like low and negative vibrations that are coming into your energy field, that's why you'll feel really tired. You'll feel exhausted. It's like vibrational exhaustion. So be mindful of that. If you don't have to, just don't shop as much. I've definitely reduced my shopping to the bare minimum, to be honest. I literally will only go out to stores now to get something if I really need something, or I will just kind of shop online, just to avoid that. So you have to find ways that are going to work for you so that you don't have to keep bombarding yourself with frequencies that are really draining, exhausting, overwhelming, and causing anxiety. And pay attention, like really pay attention to how you feel anywhere you are, when you go to a friend's house, when you go to family members' houses, when you go to a store, when you go to the park. Just pay attention to how you feel and the subtle shifts within yourself as you are spending time in a location for a certain period of time. So even certain family members, like I'll just notice how differently I feel, in their home, right? Because it's so different. My home is literally a sanctuary. I have it set up in such a way. I got crystals, I got candles, I got sage burning, I got incense burning, I got all kinds of different things going on that literally make my home feel like a spa. It feels like a sanctuary, right? So, and when I go into other people's homes and they don't have those things, and they have like an overabundance of plastics, for example, an overabundance of polyester materials, and like just like too much stuff in the home, even, I find anxiety inducing, overwhelming. It's very difficult for me to hang out with people. So if you notice that about yourself, that's okay. Like pay attention to that and adapt yourself to what works for you and what doesn't. And this is where boundaries come in, and it's perfectly okay to say no, or it's perfectly okay to say, hey, you know what? I can hang out for an hour, and then I got to go, right? That's perfectly fine. Because at the end of the day, like your energy field is extremely open, okay? That's why you're sensitive. That's why you're picking up on so much information. Everything is vibration, and vibration is information. So it's the overwhelm of information that you're picking up on that causes you to feel this way. Another type of sensitivity is cognitive sensitivity. So I don't know if you guys have experienced this or noticed this, but this is a sensitivity to meanings. So you're able to know what's going on between people. You can just observe someone and you can pick up on what's going on between them, even if they don't say it, even if they're putting on a show, like everything's honky-dory and they're happy and they're great and whatever. You can't fool me. I pick up on that kind of stuff. So it's an ability to pick up on the underlying layers of emotion that people have within themselves that is usually buried or masked by a facade of happiness. Okay. And this is something I've had my entire life. I've always noticed this about people. I've always been a really good people reader. You may notice that within yourself as well. That's what it is. You're a good people reader. You're picking up on layers underneath the facade, okay? It's also an ability to see the bigger picture in situations. So in your own life and in other people's lives and in other people's situations. This is actually called holistic thinking. So you have this ability to really have like a bird's eye view. You have an ability to see all sides of all perspectives of everyone involved, not just one side or not just the other side or not just your own, but you actually have this all encompassing perspective and ability to see everybody's side of the story. And then you also have this ability to, of course, have compassion and understanding for each side. So for me, this is why I can do couples counseling really well, because the wife will say something, the father or like the husband will say something, they'll talk about the kids or they'll talk about whatever, and then I see the entire picture fully, and then I can give advice to them, to the mom, to the dad, and then I can also see the kid's perspective, and then I will, even if the children are not present, and then I'll explain to the mom and dad or like husband and wife, what's actually going on with the kids and how they need to shift their perspective or their attitude towards the kid, or how they need to parent them differently. And then they're like, oh, yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So it's this ability to see holistically the entire picture. There's also a philosophical perspective that you might have as a sensitive. And philosophical perspective is an ability to literally pick up on all philosophies of the world. Now, I know that sounds overwhelming, but it's an ability to really, again, see from an even higher than bird's eye view perspective. It's a very deep perspective into situations. And it's like you're tapping into philosophies, ideas, you know, very intelligent minds of the past and actually of the future, because time is not linear, that this information that exists in the Akashic records. So it's this very holistic overview of life itself, and it's a very spiritual view of life itself and of everything within life that is happening. And that's really, really interesting too. I actually had that come online in the last probably 2 years. I noticed that it really intensified when the pandemic started for me. So I started to see just the bigger picture of all of life on planet Earth and of how we exist on planet Earth, why the darkness exists, why we have so much suffering, how that is also actually serving a purpose, and how the light and dark are currently, in war with each other, actually. Not even in war, but there is this battle right now, frequency battle for light and dark. So there's just this very different perspective that I now have of the entire world as a result of my spiritual awakening and coming online. Now, all sensitivity is really just, like I mentioned before, an energetic openness. Okay, so your aura is different. Okay, and acknowledge that. And it's not egotistical to acknowledge that your aura is actually different from the average. You have an openness and an expansiveness within your energy field more than people who are, less conscious, or people who are just less awake or on a different part or level of their ascension journey. So people that are sensitives also tend to have stronger energy fields. And I should know, because I do energy healing all the time and I work with people, and I have a lot of sensitives actually that come and see me as clients. And that's something I've noticed time and time again, that they have a very, very magnetic aura. So there's a draw, there's literally a magnetic pull within their energy field as a sensitive individual. And they have more abundant energy flow as well. So it's stronger. It's literally stronger. And the way energy flows in their body and in their chakras is quite a bit different. It's very powerful, actually. I noticed that. Now, as a sensitive, we all know that we can get very easily ungrounded. Even right now, I'm barefoot. I'm always barefoot, actually, in the summer months, because I'm constantly grounding myself. I'm constantly bringing myself back into balance, back into harmony, so that I don't kind of, like I said, become a space cadet, right? You can become a space cadet when you're very highly spiritual and when you're very highly sensitive. So you have to keep leveling yourself out. You have to keep grounding yourself. And the best way to ground, guys, is to be barefoot in grass on the earth. Have your feet physically touching the soil, because that exchange of energy that you have between Mother Earth and yourself will really help to level you out. It also helps to bring everything back and assimilate the information and bring it into 3D and harmonize it and anchor it into 3D. So, for example, when I get visions or when I get downloads, because I'm activating my crown, my third eye, my throat, my heart chakra so much, and actually solar plexus as well, I have to bring it back down past my solar plexus into my sacral and into my root chakra. So I have to do different practices that pull that information into me. Otherwise, I actually get dizzy. I'll get very, very lightheaded, and that's usually my indication. That's how I know that I'm ungrounded. If you guys ever experience that, by the way, just get outside for, I wanted to say 10 minutes, but the reality is you need about 30 minutes for that full energy exchange to happen between you and Mother Earth. So get out barefoot and just chill. Just sit outside and take some deep breaths and really kind of focus on your feet. Allow that energy to come into you. It's going to pull all the energy down from up here down into the lower part of your body, and it's going to help you to level out. The dizziness will go away, headaches will go away. You'll get clarity, and you're just going to feel way more grounded and harmonized within yourself. So you can, as a sensitive, become more diffuse. And what does that mean? Being more diffuse means that you more easily abandon yourself, actually, and diffuse out into the environment energetically. Now, this is something that I noticed with myself too. I've had this experience, I think, since I was a small child. As a sensitive, you will diffuse out. It's like your energy is always kind of outside of yourself, and always connecting and like interacting with the environment. So again, you have to be able to learn to pull that back into yourself. This is where grounding helps majorly. So if you do abandon yourself often, or you find yourself wanting to sacrifice your happiness, your whatever, anything for others, then know that that's diffusion. You're diffusing your energy at that point, and remind yourself to bring yourself back into harmony. Remind yourself that, okay, I got to ground to level myself out so that I can have boundaries, I can assert boundaries, and live comfortably within them. There's also, which actually all of this diffusion will actually cause a lot of tiredness and a lot of exhaustion. So it causes like spiritual, mental, physical exhaustion. Pay attention to that. If you're feeling excessively tired, you're diffusing. So pull back, ground yourself, say no to people, kind of shut the world out for a little bit period of time, and just allow yourself to recalibrate. Now, with sensitivity, there's also 4 different challenges that are specifically here for you to learn from and for you to learn how to overcome. So sensitive individuals have a challenge of becoming resilient to not feel impinged by life. So, which connects to that diffusion that I was talking about. In order for you to stay whole within yourself, and in order for you to stay level, you have to overcome this challenge of diffusion. You have to learn how to pull your energy back, and really honor yourself, and really listen to yourself, listen to how you're feeling, pay attention and tune into how you're feeling in every given moment. So you have to develop resiliency. And I know personally, this last year has absolutely kicked my ass, and I felt that way because I was moving through the process of learning resiliency. So that's what you've been learning too. Now, number 2 is the challenge of being grounded. So to not diffuse your energy out, not give it away to the environment, to that constant picking up on other people's stuff. It's learning to tune into yourself more and harmonize and bring things back in. Number 3 is the challenge of authenticity. So as sensitives, we're all actually challenged to become more authentic, because a lot of us struggle with really just allowing ourselves to be seen. I think we, especially as children, we will develop certain habits and certain ways of existing so that we feel that we can fit into society, so that we can feel like we're accepted by society. And, we don't need to be accepted by society. It's actually learning to accept yourself and coming into that harmony within the self. That's really the priority. So the challenge of being authentic really connects to you fully taking the mask off and really being aware of who you are, what you're sensitive to, what you're not sensitive to at any given moment, and being able to walk away from and putting down things that really throw you off caliber. And the number 4, the final thing here, is the challenge of being happy. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but being happy is very difficult at times for a sensitive individual. And the reason why is because you're constantly picking up on frequency of vibration, on energy, and you're actually picking up on collective suffering. There are so many people suffering and unhappy and going through incredibly difficult times in their life, globally, all over the world, in places, and in corners of the world that you may have never even heard of, and you're actually picking up on it thousands of miles away. So for a sensitive to truly be happy, you have to acknowledge that you're picking up on collective suffering. And sometimes, for me too, I have to really, what I do is I just kind of try to shut it out. I try to shut it out for periods of time. You can't always shut it out, because then that means you're walling yourself off completely, emotionally and vibrationally from the world. And, you can't live like that. But you have to be able to kind of shut out that suffering so that you can just exist and allow yourself to be happy and allow yourself to experience, any given moment in a peaceful, harmonious kind of way, because that collective suffering is intense, guys. And over the pandemic, it amplified majorly. I was so depressed so many times over the pandemic, and I had no idea why. I'm not generally a depressed person, but I was picking up on massive depression over the pandemic, and it's gotten better now, but I'm picking up on a different type of suffering energy right now. So when you're tuned to that much suffering in the world, you have to be very, very mindful of what you're consuming when it comes to the media. Try not to bring more suffering energy into the home through catastrophic or dramatic movies and shows, and like social media. Like, be really mindful of what you're watching, what you're consuming, so that it doesn't pull you down. It doesn't, it's like literally don't invite it into the home. Don't invite it into the home. I watch an immense amount of comedy. Almost every night, actually, I kind of finish my day with a little bit of comedy, and it just puts me in a really, really good mood. It puts me in a very high vibration right before sleep. So that even when I go into astral traveling and into dreaming, that I basically set myself up to be in a high vibe and happy place so that I have happy dreams. I know that sounds crazy, but it's totally connected. So be very mindful of what you're bringing into your home and what you're allowing into your life energetically as a whole. So that's what I wanted to make. It's way longer than I anticipated it to be, but these were the notes that came through that I really felt compelled to share about sensitivity. So just be mindful and really take care of yourself, guys. And it's perfectly okay. You are not a freak. We are not freaks. We are highly sensitive individuals who have to live life differently. And you know what? Something that I really came to understand for myself is that the reason why I am so sensitive is to help others who are also sensitive. because 99% of my clients are highly sensitive individuals. So, I'm here to experience this, to learn, to grow from it, so that I can share this wisdom with you guys, so that I can share it with my clients and help other sensitives in the world make this world, a happier place, and to help them exist in it in a way that feels just more peaceful and more normal, right? So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.